All right, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of an Outlast recap. I'm here with Hannah. Hey.
Hi, guys.
I'm Alex. Before we start getting into this recap, let's play the weekly episode of What's Hannah Eating?
Oh, nothing anymore. I finished it. But it was a mocha brownie, and it was delicious. By Cheryl Clark.
Yeah.
None
Props
other
to
than Cheryl Clark. She might be the best cook in the world.
Whoa.
I'm just saying. Well,
Whoa.
that I've eaten from.
Okay.
Which is pretty limited, actually. So
She's quite good. You know what? I can't actually think of anyone off the top of my head that I'm like, wow, that person is a much better cook. So
See?
I maybe would say the same thing. Well, today we're recapping episode 8 of Outlast, titled Everyone's at Risk. A big episode. This was our merge episode. A fun tribal council. Chaotic camp experience leading into it. A lot to break down. Hannah, as always, let me start by asking you, what was the most impactful moment of this, or the most impactful theme, perhaps, of this episode that you think is most important or the most viewable?
I think that, honestly, the overall journey of Ben Montgomery is probably the most interesting or impactful. The kid is still alive somehow. But I think that was I think a lot of the viewers are going to expect him to get out. I think I did.
So too,
I can't remember exactly how I felt in this moment, but I'm pretty sure, I was like, any second, this kid's gonna get out. Because there's been so much talk about it. So that part, especially at the tribal, which we'll talk about eventually, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It was definitely I thought, oh, Ben's gone. It's his time. And then he didn't. So, yeah that was definitely a shocker.
Maybe even the easy vote, even though he had that totem, because he had been a target literally from the beginning because he found that.
Yeah.
And this is the first time that people had a chance to vote him out.
And it wouldn't have been that difficult to convince him, obviously, that he wasn't going to be out. So I don't know why all of a sudden something changed. But
yeah, it was cool. And props to Ben for not falling for the trick and using an idol or his totem and wasting it. You know, he still has it in his pocket, and as long as he has that, he's going to be a tough out. Regardless of the state of your alliances or your strategic prowess, whenever you've got that totem, it's tough to vote you out, because if you find out what's happening, you play the totem and you're fine, and now one of those people are going to get booted. So
yeah, exactly.
Props to Ben.
I know.
So the first big thing that happens is we merge. Big deal. Congrats to these 9 players on making the merge. That's a big, big deal.
Yeah.
And really when the merge hits is when the game starts to... It's been, big, and you'd have to play with a lot of strategy up until this point. But when you hit the merge is when it really separates the wheat from the chaff, so to speak. If you are not playing individually for yourself to win, it's going to become apparent, and you're not going to do so. And so...
Yeah. And the challenges, are so much more interesting. Everything, in my opinion, no longer do you have a team. It's you're on your own, and people really start making moves immediately after the merge. People are trying to it's evident. They're trying real hard to make sure they know where they're voting, and the challenges are so much more interesting. Everything changes.
Yeah, and now we can see everyone every week instead of the people that winning going invisible.
Yeah.
I think it's worth noting, we mentioned it a few times in the episode, there's a good percent, a third of the people in this game at this point have not been to Tribal until now. Yeah. Chloe, Chuddy, and Ben, this was the first time that they went to Tribal Council.
Yeah.
And it was halfway into the game. And I think that's worth mentioning so frequently, because I think that can set you up for lack of success at Tribal when you get into the merge where the game's already becoming more intense. And you don't have this backlog of information and experience to draw from as far as how to prepare for a vote, how to conduct yourself at Tribal Council, how to make sure that you have the numbers in the way that you think you need them, that everybody else, and to the complete opposite counterpoint, Lydia has done 9 times. These people have done it 0 times, and they're almost coming in they're starting the game now halfway through, and everybody else has some level of experience to this point.
I know. I think, and it's interesting when we talk to Lydia about how she's I'm feeling pretty good. And yet she's been to however many tribal councils. Right. But I think she's starting to realize, like, she kind of feels like a pro at this. Like, she's
She's
her
got
routine.
more experience than anyone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And I think it helped her in the long run. I think we see that.
So
like,
too.
she seems pretty confident.
Yep.
So.
Yep. And you grow into it, as with anything. Like, this is the first time anybody's playing Outlast, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that it's having not gone to tribal council for, like, someone like Ben, for instance, there's good and bad in that, right? Like, on one hand, it's impossible for him to leave the game until this point. He hasn't been given a chance to be voted out. But I wonder if that affects his ability to play down the line because he hasn't had that experience. It's kind of like in a video game, for instance. This is going to be a silly example. But, like, if you have to go through, like, the early level grinding, leveling up annoyance, it's like, and you can die in those times. Yeah. It's annoying and you don't really want to do it. But now when you get to the late game, you, like, have this experience and levels and skills. But if you were just to, like, jump into the late game with, like, a fully leveled character, you're like, I don't know how to use any of these things. I haven't been building up to it, you know?
Yeah. It's like, this is so off topic, but it's like in Spider-Man, the Homecoming one, where he, like, levels up his suit or whatever, or he, like, enables all of the things in his suit, and then he's like, oh no, I don't know how to use any of this. Like, shut down, I want the basic stuff again, you know?
Yeah, totally.
If you haven't seen Spider-Man Homecoming, you have no idea what I'm talking about.
That's a great point, yeah.
But it's kind of like that.
Yeah. We haven't even talked about Tess yet either, who was the one who was voted out. Tess played a really great game, and I think her downfall to this point was in the last 2 episodes, particularly, she really made it clear that she is a strategic force. And she orchestrated 2 big blindsides of 2 good, powerful players, and Tess and Joe. Yeah. She really was the person driving that ship in both of those occurrences.
But also, Macy mentioned, she was like, it's not Tess anymore. Like, she was like, Macy, like, told us. She was like,
right,
it's coming, and and
I
think she was less of a force in those maybe than.
Sure. But I found it interesting how the people that were on the blue tribe during those tribals, even though they weren't there, and even though the purple tribe stuck with Tess, how they identified her as, like, the driver of that, It's like Tess was the one that they targeted.
True.
And everyone was saying, you got a confessional from Chloe saying it explicitly, like, I don't trust Tess in Outlast. She would stab me in the back like she did me.
That is true. You're right.
Even though they weren't there, they just, like, saw the situation and assumed that's what happened,
Yeah. I guess you're right. I didn't think about that. But that's a really interesting point. They all did vote. I mean, from an outlooker standpoint, Macy also said that it did look like it was Tess the whole time.
Yeah.
So
maybe it's just I don't know, the way that she talks, or she's vocal, which is great.
She's a natural leader, like very upfront, not afraid to speak her mind. Yeah. And I think that may have made her a target. Yeah.
We'll talk more about tribal here in a little bit. Let's talk about Chuddy finding that advantage, which was pretty funny. I didn't realize this is how it happened until I walked in.
I was there filming that part, and I remember I knew it was coming, and when he pulled it out, and I was like, oh. Yeah. I was like, as soon as he started reading it, I was like, you don't want to read this out loud right here? But, I mean, there was no option. Like, he couldn't really hide it.
Yeah, once he pulled it out and said, oh, it's a note. Right, yeah, he couldn't have. Let this be a lesson to all future Outlast players. If you find brown parchment, that is an advantage or idol or something, and you should not flaunt it and read it out loud. Because what he said, right, was like, oh, I thought it was like a congratulations on lunch sort of thing.
Yeah, I think he told me at that point, or at some point he told me that, but I don't remember if it was in the actual video.
I think he said it to, like, the people at camp there.
Okay, yeah. He was like, I thought it was just like a note. Like,
it was funny how you, like, see his face and his tone drop. He's like, congratulations, you have found an Outlast advantage. This is a reward steal. You can use it to... Cool.
He was like, well, shoot.
But he is stacked with advantages now. He has both the reward steal, and he's in possession of that powerless totem. Yeah. Hasn't come into play yet. We'll see if it does. But between those two, he has a lot of tools at his disposal strategically to navigate. Unfortunately, one of them, like 3/4 of the people playing knows he has. The other one, everyone knows he has, which is a bummer and really saps the power of them. But there's still tools to be used.
Yeah.
If it wasn't clear, the way that the reward steal works is every once in a while, right, there's rewards included in an immunity challenge. After that challenge is completed, Chuddy can use his reward steal and say, hey, Alex, I'm going to use my reward steal and steal the reward that person just won. Which in some cases, you know, you can use it well, or you could use it less well, right? Like if you used it to win a sandwich or something, it's like, okay, but if you used it to win like an advantage, it'd probably be strategically better.
Yeah.
Chuddy's got a lot of tools at his disposal now.
That he does.
Another thing that was talked about a lot was that like Power 3 original blue, full-time blue alliance of Jenna, Hooten, and Will, and how they have kind of, without us seeing it a whole lot, been working to add to that alliance. We hear Chloe talking about that and them talking about including Chloe in that, realizing that if they want to direct the votes here going forward, that they have to be bigger than just 3, you know? So we see Chloe talking about maybe joining up with them. We see them saying that they want Chloe to come along. And then there's also, you know, on the other hand, they're saying like, man, I don't know if we can trust Jake. They're nervous about Ben. And so navigating the realization that they need to be more than just 3.
Yeah. But also, I don't know if they actually realize this, but Chloe does, because she says it about it. I think it's hard because those 3 are so tight that everybody knows that when it comes down to it, if they make it to the finals with them, they're going to stay together and they're going to vote that 4th person out, whoever it is. Yeah. So I think people are realizing that and thinking, oh, they're really close. I don't know if I want to be in an alliance with them. And that's what Chloe tells us, which is also interesting and kind of puts them in a tough spot. Yeah. And hard to get more people if they all know.
Actually, a great strategy if they were less, like, out with it about the tightness of those 3, to more secretively have a smaller alliance within a bigger alliance is really smart, because now you've got the numbers to dictate the votes, but you have another smaller subsection of numbers within that, so that when you dwindle down there, now you're good for the next part, too.
But you have to keep it kind of secret, or else it kind of ruins the...
Right. Yeah. Like, because, like you said, then people are hesitant to join up with you. The immunity challenge. This was a really fun one, I thought.
I really liked this. Actually, I liked watching this one. I hated doing it. Doing it was horrible.
You got to try it.
Yeah, a lot of times. I did it for so long trying to do this, and I'm just not... This was one of my...
It's tougher than it looks.
Yeah. It's in the, like, being taller, I think really does give you... I was telling Alex, I think it gives you an advantage, because then you can see where the ball is. But if you're short, like Chloe, that was impressive, because when I even did it... Yeah. And I'm not that short. But even when I did it, it was like if I moved my hand down to the 3rd one, it was right like here. And so it was very hard for me to control with the ball so high up, you know. But it was an interesting one. It was fun to shoot and watch.
Yeah. I wonder how much more Chloe would have to do for people to start saying, like, oh, she's a threat to win challenges.
I know.
Just because, like, you wouldn't necessarily expect it.
Yeah.
Because she is a younger girl, and that's just the, you know, assumption. But, dude, like, she came in 2nd in this challenge. She ran with the puzzle in the previous one. She is performing really well.
She's performed really well this whole time and everything. But again, they haven't really been super suspicious of any of the girls outside of maybe Jenna. But even Jenna, I don't think they've really, like... Yeah,
it was actually, I think, a huge thing for her that their tribe won so much there in a row, because she was the focus from everyone that was going out early on. Yeah. And it allowed her to kind of dip back down under the radar. Such that, you know, now, you hear her name thrown around a little bit, but it's not very heavy. Yeah. But maybe if she stayed high on that radar, she would have been an easy target. Yeah. Or it would have caused the rest of the people that weren't in that Power 3 to look at those 3 and say, we need to break this up. But because they were not the object of, like, attention for so long. Yeah, I know. It wasn't high on their mind. There was so much tension and chaos before Tribal here. This was the biggest time to this point where there's like constant talking and side conversations and like smaller groups breaking off to try and figure out what was going on. It was really fun to watch and to edit. And even talking with some of the players, like on Sunday, about this coming episode, they were like, dude, it was so crazy. Like, we didn't know what was happening until the very last moment.
Yeah.
And it's, there's more opportunity for that, I think, once you get into the merge than in pre-merge.
I know, and none of them have any experience. I mean, everything's kind of new at this point, and, like, they've never merged. They don't know what, I mean, now everybody's just, like, by themselves. No, but there's no real teams anymore. I mean, and then because of the swap, nobody really knows who their, like, alliances are. I mean, are they going to stick with the original, or are they going to go back? So, it was wild. It was just crazy.
Yeah, and the number of people that are voting now is so large.
Yeah.
You've got to get a lot more people on the same page to complete a vote. You know?
Exactly.
When there were 4 people left, you just have to get 2 or 3 and you're fine. But now you've got to get 5 or 6. You know?
Yep.
We talked a lot about how important the first vote is, and I think the reason for that is like you were saying, there's a lot of uncertainty at the beginning of this new phase of the game, as far as, like, who's with one another, who can you trust, who are you going to work with going forward, and you don't, like, none of that is proven until you cast votes. You know, you can say anything, right? But the one way that you can be certain that someone is with you is if you vote together, you know? Otherwise, it's all, like, talk until then. And so
exactly.
This first vote really can determine some lines, which then may shift or change going forward, but they at least create an initial line.
Yeah, definitely. It very much solidifies what somebody has already said. I mean, if you don't, but it's also scary because you don't really know until the moment they're voting. You're like, oh, okay, this person is, or this person isn't, and now I'm screwed and it's too late. Yeah. So, I don't know, but yeah.
We said it earlier too. It was really interesting there was so much talk of, like, the chaos and how, like, tribe lines don't really matter so much anymore. But then when push came to shove, we saw Tess, Lydia, and Jack vote together, and then the other 6 that were just on blue vote together. And so those lines did actually stick together. Yeah. Kind of surprisingly
and the new ones, not the original ones, too. So that was interesting. They formed new alliances, and those were the people who they stuck with. Yeah. But also, it's not, it's surprising, but not that surprising, because it's like, well, that's the most recent team you've had, and that's who you've gotten closer with, and like at the beginning, the original alliances the original teams were so big that maybe they didn't get as close as they did after the swap, if that makes sense. Yeah. But
I think maybe the flaw of those former purples, when you see a lot of the stuff at camp, they're talking in pretty large groups with other people, right? I think the way that they could have gotten 2 more, because you need 5 votes, right, at this point, to go with those 3 was, instead of talking with, like, a group of Chloe and Ben and Jake, for instance, you know, and trying to say, let's vote Ben. You get one of them and say, all right, here's the deal. We need 5 votes to vote out Ben or to vote out Jenna or whatever. Yeah. We've got 3. You would make 4, and then we just need 1 more, you know. I think that would maybe get a better commitment than, like, just pitching stuff to a group. And you saw, like, we heard Ben's name, we heard Tessa's name, we heard Jenna's name. And it kind of just, like, which one stuck, you know? What was, it's like, you hear different names and plans change, like, frequently. It's like, just which is the last plan that's pitched before tribal? Sometimes this is the thing that happens, is like, because you just keep talking and then sooner or later you got to go vote, you know?
Yeah, I know. I wish, I mean, I guess I don't necessarily wish, because I think it worked out amazing. It was, the whole show was awesome. But it would have been interesting had maybe, like, Lydia and Jack and who was in that original? Lydia, Jack.
It was everyone.
Tess. It was Tess.
Yeah.
So had those 3 picked up on, hey, you know what? Maybe Chloe would be, like, more apt to switch. I feel like they were kind of just going along with whatever and trying to decide whether or not they were going to vote with the blue, instead of, hey, like, maybe we could get other people to join us, you know?
So who do you think the 2 people that would be most likely to join with those 3 would be in that moment?
Oh, for sure, Chloe, and probably Chuddy, honestly. Like,
yeah, that's my thought too.
If Jake, I think Jake knows, like, he's not one of those 3, and he's wanting to get Ben out, so, like...
you saw him.
I mean... Like, he had been, at least, throughout the earlier episodes. So, I don't know. I think he would have been pretty easy to convince. And then Chloe, because she's already on the fence. If they would have, like, solidified that in her mind, that, hey, you're going to be out if you go with them.
Right. It's a tough question, because I think so, too. But then I also think, like, yeah, I think Ben feels pretty loyal to like Will.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think he would switch.
But like, I really think those three, I don't know which one in particular, did a really good job in that period after the swap of like gaining the trust and the loyalty of those people that were on their tribe, you know? Because I think like, at first I think, yeah, Chloe and Chuddy would probably be doable. But like, Chloe is pretty loyal to them too. She has like her doubts.
Yeah.
But like, she also wants to work with them, you know? They've at least positioned themselves as people who people want to work with, you know?
Yeah.
And Chuddy, same thing. Yeah. You know, he lost the trust of Tess.
Yeah. And both of them did with Tess. So like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know. I think those would be the most, like, I think they would be the most apt to maybe, but like not necessarily that they would have, you know, I don't know.
So maybe what you see then is that it's less about groups and more about, in this vote, at least for some of the people, is because we said it earlier, what is the determining decision at this point in the game most of the time is who can I work with down the line to get me to where I want to be. And so maybe the assumption or the choice that a lot of people made was looking at Tess and her game that's someone that I can't trust to work with going forward, you know? And so maybe it was less about tribe lines. Tess just had those two that were on the same page with her. And the others didn't say necessarily, oh, we want to work with this group, but saying Tess is going to be someone that I can't trust to work with down the line because she is such a strong and like
she'll do whatever
strategic player. Yeah.
And she made that really clear with the Macy thing. I mean, she would the second she did that, she was showing I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I don't care, you know, and that definitely hurt her.
Last thing is Tess now becomes a member of the jury, first member of the jury.
Yep.
If you're new to Outlast or Survivor, what that means is they are present in the challenges and at tribal council. They can't speak or interact with the game in any way. They're just watching with the ultimate end of at the final tribal council. Everybody on the jury are the ones that cast the vote for the winner. Man, I can't wait for this. I just like pictured Final Tribal and Outlast Finale. Outlast Finale is on December 9th, I think. So you'll want to be there if you are a viewer of the show. Yeah, I can't wait. So
it'll be fun.
Tess is out of contention, but still very much a part of the game.
Yeah.
In that she'll be there and also be casting a really important vote at the end. So great. Did we miss anything?
I don't think so.
I think we always cover it pretty well. I was okay, I'll share this one story. In Sherwood Kids this Sunday, Matt's one of the guys I work with. His daughter was down there, and she was like, "Alex, I watched Outlast with my dad this weekend." And I was like, "Oh, cool! That's so fun!" And she's like, "Why are the recaps always longer than the actual episodes?" Give me a break, kid. I like talking about it. Okay?
How old is this girl?
She's like in 3rd grade. So, thanks for watching.
Yeah. They probably haven't even made it this far, honestly.
No, not a
probably
chance. Not a chance.
It's okay.
For the one listener that's or viewer
still
that's
there.
Here, props to you.
Yeah, thanks.
If you watch this part of the video, leave a thing in the comments saying that you watched until this point.
We'll tally.
Send you a gift card or something. I don't know.
Don't promise that. He's not going to send you a gift
card. I'll buy
card.
you coffee.
At some point in your life, maybe.
Yeah, at some point in your life.
Okay.
Great. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
See you next time.